Neville Goddard said that living in the end doesn't mean ignoring reality. But what does he actually mean by that? Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Neville in 90 Seconds, where we explore the teachings of Neville Goddard through the lens of a single quote. I'll put the full quote up on the screen now and we'll dive into it. Okay, so this is a longer one, so bear with me. So before we jump into the quote, let's go ahead and just get into the word cloud of today's quote, because there are some really important words in here that I think will help us understand what Neville's getting at. And the first word that stands out to me is assumption. Assumption is key to understanding Neville's work. It's all about assuming your desired state and living from there. But notice how in this quote, he doesn't say to assume your state and then ignore reality. He says to assume your state and then live creatively in and with reality. The next word I want to pull out is ignore. Neville often talks about how ignoring something makes it bigger, but when you acknowledge something, it gets smaller. So, this quote has the word ignore right in it, but I believe it's used ironically because if you read on, he'll explain why simply ignoring reality isn't going to get you to your desired outcome. Another important word in this quote is persuasion. This is Neville's preferred term for manifestation. When you persuade yourself of something, you begin to see it as true. You start to feel it deep within you, and eventually it manifests in your physical world. And the key word here is deep within you. And lastly, I want to bring up the idea of law. Neville talks about a law of the universe, which is basically the law of attraction. The law is the principle that like attracts like. We are constantly attracting to us whatever we have our focus on. So now that we've got these keywords out of the way, let's dive deeper into the quote. To live in the end. Imaginatively means to persist in imagining your wish fulfilled until you feel its truth. To live there, abide by its decrees, but not by the decrees of a literal interpretation of the external world. For in that case, you would be ignoring reality, which is fatal. What you do when you assume your wish fulfilled is to change the law of your particular case by persuading yourself of its truth, of the truth of the new condition assumed, and having persuaded yourself, you proceed to live in its actuality, not by ignoring the outer world, but by living in and with it. Now, this quote is long and complex, so let's break it down, piece by piece. The first part of the quote, to live in the end imaginatively means to persist in imagining your wish fulfilled until you feel its truth. This is the essence of Neville's teachings. To live in the end. To live in the end imaginatively, you have to imagine your wish being fulfilled. Neville says to persist in your imagination, to keep it going, to stay in that imagined state until you feel its truth. The word feel is important here because it implies an emotional connection. Neville says that you should imagine your wish being fulfilled and feel the emotions associated with that wish being fulfilled. Feel the joy, the happiness, the satisfaction of having your desire manifest in your life. That's what it means to live in the end. But notice what he says next. To live there, abide by its decrees, but not by the decrees of a literal interpretation of the external world. Here, Neville is pointing out the danger of living in your desired state and ignoring the external world. If you do that, you're ignoring reality, which can lead to disastrous consequences. Instead, you need to abide by the decrees of your imagination, the feeling you have in your imaginal act. You need to feel your way through life, not by literally interpreting the external world. Don't make decisions based on fear or what you think you see in the external world. Instead, make decisions based on the feeling you have in your imaginal act. He goes on to explain why this is so important. For in that case, you would be ignoring reality, which is fatal. When you ignore reality, you make it bigger. Fear becomes bigger, problems become bigger, doubts become bigger. But when you acknowledge reality, when you accept it and work with it, you make it smaller. Fear becomes smaller, problems become smaller, doubts become smaller. So don't ignore reality. Work with it, understand it, accept it. That's the only way to truly manifest your desires. Neville then explains how this works. What you do when you assume your wish fulfilled is to change the law of your particular case by persuading yourself of its truth of the new condition assumed. When you live in the end, you change the law of your particular case. You do this by persuading yourself of the truth of your new condition. Persuading yourself is key here. It's not enough to simply imagine your wish being fulfilled. You have to feel it deep within you. You have to know it to be true. Once you have persuaded yourself, Neville says that you should proceed to live in its actuality. And here's the kicker, not by ignoring the outer world, but by living in and with it. Now we come to the final part of the quote, and it's perhaps the most important part. To live in the end. To live in the end imaginatively. You must not ignore the external world. You must live in and with it. Now, this doesn't mean that you should try to change the external world. It doesn't mean that you should try to make things happen in the physical world. It simply means that you should live in accordance with the feeling you have in your imaginal act. Don't ignore the external world. Work with it, understand it, accept it. That's the only way to truly manifest your desires. Let me give you an example to make this clearer. Let's say you want to manifest a new job. You've been praying and visualizing and doing everything right, but you still haven't gotten the job yet. What do? Do you give up? Do you stop believing that it's possible? Or do you continue to live in the end? Continue to feel the feeling of having the job, even though you haven't gotten it yet? The answer, of course, is that you continue to live in the end. You continue to feel the feeling of having the job, even though you haven't gotten it yet. You don't ignore the external world. You don't stop looking for jobs. You don't stop networking. You don't stop putting in the effort. But you do it all from a place of already having the job. You do it all from a place of feeling the feeling of having the job. When you do that, you're working with the external world. You're not fighting against it. You're not trying to change it. You're simply living in harmony with it. This is what Neville meant when he said that living in the end doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means living in and with reality. It means accepting reality and working with it. It means acknowledging reality and making it smaller. It means not giving in to fear or doubt or worry. It means not letting problems or obstacles stand in your way. It means not giving up on your dreams and desires. So remember, brothers and sisters, when you live in the end, imaginatively, don't ignore reality. Live in and with it. And with that, we have come to the end of another episode of Neville in 90 seconds. If you enjoyed this episode and you haven't already subscribed, please do so and join the family. Until next time, peace.